Moogle's gone wild on this brand new issue of the Carbuncle Chronicle. Hello and welcome everyone, once again, greetings adventurers to the Carbuncle Chronicle, your podcast for everything awesome in Final Fantasy XIV. Hi, I'm Basil. I main a Lalafell summoner named 4K Riders K.
Hi, I'm Anna. I main a Lalafell dancer, bard, tank, whatever, named Cormier Riders K.
Hi, I'm Dylan. I main an Elysian white mage named Aldrich Greywind.
And that's us, and we play on the server they call Leviathan. Leviathan. Breathless. Leviathan. And our free company is Odin's Spear. Also, later on this week, I believe it's this upcoming weekend. Boy, I need to record these real soon. I've got some panels for the MomoCon online, or MomoCon line. The name is weird. But it's MomoCon and it's online because, of the whole COVID thing. And one of the panels is Final Fantasy XIV. Panel What You Must, which I'll talk about Shadowbringers and the current patch and the upcoming patch, and are actually our topic for tonight as well, but not nearly as in-depth on this topic as we'll cover on the podcast. So, what we're talking about is the Moogle Treasure Trove event, The Hunt for Law.
This is the third installment of the Internet Moogle?
It's third or fourth. I've lost track, but it coincidentally is launching the day that this episode goes up on the internet. So we thought, well, the whole idea of the Carbuncle Chronicle was able to cover stuff as things happen. Wow, this was a happy accident. But yeah, so if you've never done this before, they usually do these things as a way to get people to do older content while we're waiting for new content to exist. Like, for example, I think the big one we all really remember was they did this for a bit before Shadowbringers hit.
Yeah, that was how they were really trying to help get people who hadn't done Crystal Tower through Crystal Tower.
And the general gist is do old stuff, get irregular tombstones, which you can turn into a Moogle, to get items that are normally kind of annoying to get that you may not have tried to pursue because it was, more annoying than you normally would get, and making sure to at least have one special item that no one has ever gotten before that's new, that's exclusive to this event for people like Anna who has already done everything.
Yeah, because the first Internet Moogle, we got Namazu earrings. The second were the Shiba Inu earrings. And then this time, maybe this is the fourth one, because I believe maybe the last time was the Namazu scarf.
Yeah, there was a Namazu there.
Now we'll have the Shiba Inu scarf.
I say that may be why I don't remember any of the new items, because I usually just glamour away my earrings and stuff like that.
Well, the new item is always 100 tomes. It is technically the most difficult one to get, especially if you're going for other things. But for me, who has everything on the list, that's all I go for.
Is the list the same as last time, or does
No,
it
there's
change?
always... There's some things that remain the same, and then there's some things that they add specifically for this event.
Okay. Because I know when the first few came through, I was like, oh crap, I gotta run these things so I could get this stuff, and I only got like a couple of things. I felt like, oh well, have I missed this entirely?
Well, aside from the 100 tombstone item, which in this case is the Mama Shiba neckerchief, everything else is stuff that you can obtain through playing the game in other ways. Like, for example, one of the big items is the Ixion mount, which you could do if you did the Ixion Fate a few times, but not a lot of people are doing the Ixion event like they used to because there are now Shadowbringer things. So Stormblood isn't quite, the new hotness anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured the whole program was for, is push people towards older content.
Right, like there's 2 of the Heavensward birds, and then, or at least one of them, I only see one now, and then there's one of the dogs from Stormblood, which, ironically, this is the dog that I had to buy with 99 tomes.
That's gotta hurt.
And then there's some orchestrations, the Quirin, Earring, and then there's all the writing maps in ARR, which will actually be important considering we'll be able to have the upgraded flying when the patch 5.3 hits.
And these are definitely good for people who don't do hunting. Because most people, if you do hunts, you get those seals, and you can use those to buy the writing maps. But this is a decent alternative to that if you don't do hunts.
Yeah, and that's one area that I've completely skipped almost, except for a little bit of leveling I've been doing recently. Like, I've run across the writing maps, but I've never, like, pushed myself to get them.
Well, it's funny because in Shadowbringers, writing maps are actually now tied to fate grinding.
Gemstone? Yeah.
So with hunts, you've got, the allied seals, which are a Realm Reborn stuff. Then there was the Citrino seals?
Centurio.
Yeah, Centurio, which encompassed both Heavensward and Stormblood. And then, of course, everyone's favorite word, nuts, in Shadowbringers. But allied seals are the most annoying thing to get for me, because you have to, all the hunts in AR die so fast, or you have to find the ones that were, you do your dailies and weeklies, and they didn't quite figure it out yet until, like, Heavensward, Stormblood, and Shadowbringers. So it's better now than it was, but what it was is still what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going back and trying to do at least the weeklies of all of the expansions, because I slacked really bad. I did not get the B rank achievement thing, so I'm working on that. And you can tell how they figured it out expansion by expansion, because especially the weeklies, there's so many spawn points for these. Like because I use ff14hunt.com, and if you look at the map, there's like little red circles all around the map to show where it possibly could spawn. Once we got into Heavensward, it lessened, and then especially once we got to Stormblood and Shadowbringers, it's just a specific area of the map that you'll see them. There's only like maybe 5 or 6 possible spawn points instead of 30.
Yeah, I think that's why I skipped them early on, was, I'd pick up the marks and then realize, I have to either look these up or run around and find them. Whereas the Shadowbringers ones were really easy for me to get into, because, I could go to a list and say, okay, this monster is at this location,
Right. And now that flying will be in the Realm Reborn zones, that's going to make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But until then, you can do the events. Also, they have some of the various beast tribes from ARR, like the Drake and the Gubu and the Elps and the Bomb Pelican.
I think I may have bought that in one of these events, because I have not touched the beast tribes, because...
Yeah, I believe these are reused from those others.
Yeah, no, these 4, there definitely are. And then there's also the Direwolf, I believe, is from there. Yeah, and then there's Boreas and Iphon, which are some of the horses you can get. And then, of course, you have, the MGP Platinum card if you need to spend something. Oh, and our friend Cass's favorite minions, Kalka and Brina.
She hates Anti-Tower so much. Those are not too hard to get, but I think it was Brina that was the rare drop.
I think you're right, but yeah, our creepy little doll friends from Final Fantasy IV, here to stay and creep you out for all eternity for only 7 tombstones apiece. And then there's some more like, cards and prisms.
Gosh, that Gaius Van Belser card. It makes me so sad, because you have no idea how many times I fought the Idle Imperial, how many times I went into Praetorium to try and get that damn card.
Oh man. Yeah, and Praetorium, I was gonna say, that's one that you have to sit through all the cutscenes and stuff every time you do it, isn't it?
It is. In fact, that's, as we now go into what you actually do to get these tombstones, is you have to do certain raids and dungeons and things. The one that awards you 10 irregular tombstones of law is, of course, the Praetorium.
Yeah, I remember doing this during the last event, because it takes forever.
It does. And the reason they do it is, again, so they can help get newer players, get more people in there that can get them through it so they don't have to wait as long in queue. And honestly, Praetorium, while it is long, while the cutscenes are long, I believe it's one of the most efficient ways to do it. I know for the very first event, I did Circus Tower, I believe, 50 times.
Oh, man.
But Praetorium tends to be the more bang for your buck. That, and I know PvP is usually a good one, too.
So yeah, the Praetorium, it's one of the level 50 main scenario quest pseudo dungeons that's like 8 people. It used to be back in the day, people would constantly just rush through past the cutscenes. And if you were trying to play this like as a character for the first time, it was always terrible because everyone would be so annoyed that you were watching cutscenes. And it'd be annoying for you because everyone skipped past the cutscenes. And by the time you're done with some of the cutscenes, they were already cleared through a boss or two, maybe.
I know people bitch about it, but I appreciate that they have made them unskippable. When we had new people in RFC, we would either get a group of 8, or if we had to pick up any randoms, we would tell them flat out, look, we are with a new person. We are letting them watch the cutscenes. You know, we want them to watch the story, how it unfolds. And a lot of times, most of the time, people were pretty chill and were like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Sometimes we had people who were like, no, I'm skipping them and going.
Yeah, it's a good reason to put in the unskippable cutscenes.
Honestly, it gives me some good time to crochet while I'm in those.
Yeah, although I feel like I'll tab out during stuff like that, and I always feel like I'm going to come back too late and have to catch up.
Yeah, you could definitely tell this was one of those things where this is the end of ARR, and a lot of stuff in ARR was almost experimental in trying to figure out exactly how to make storyline work in context of a dungeon. And they clearly learned more as the expansions went on to not cut scenes so heavily in the dungeon. But the new format now, which they started in Heavensward and have continued on, is you'll have a bit nice, cool dungeon, then some cutscenes, then the final trial of the expansion, and then you get the ending. And if you follow to, Castra Mirandum, that's it feels like that while there's lots of cutscenes in it, you really could tell that or is it Praetorium, the one that's really long?
Praetorium is the longer of the two. Castra Meridium is
right. Castrum is the ramp up to get to the Praetorium.
Yes.
Like Praetorium is one where you fight Ultima, right? Ultima weapon?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So yeah, you can clearly tell like there was a dungeon bit and then a trial bit. Although Praetorium also did some interesting things where you can ride a matchstick mount and run around with that. And that was fun and neat. And they clearly were trying to throw in all the gimmicks they could think of to make this really big showstopper of a final event. And it's cool once, but then when you have to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I want to say, I think the development team has mentioned they kind of want to try to, if they could, they would reconfigure it to be more of like a duty calls sort of thing where it's just you with NPCs, but that would take more working and remessing with stuff that they've had time to really focus on. But I think that'd be a cool way to do it. Same thing with possibly Castrum, which is getting you 7 irregular Tombstones of Law, but also the Orbone Monastery will get you 7.
To every time they've done this, they've either used Crystal Tower, or I believe the last time was Weeping City, and now they're using Rabanastre and all that, because I believe they're hopefully wanting more people that haven't done them to do them, because isn't the new Relic zone is going to be based off tactics, which is what Evilise was. Correct?
Right, and if you want to do resistance weapons, you have to have cleared this raid sequence, the Evilise raid sequence, to be able to do the resistance weapons. So this gives people an excuse, a reason to run all these. Also, since the Crystal Tower series is now going to become part of the main plot that's required to continue on past ARR for obvious reasons in Shadowbringers, but that's going to become required, whereas Evilise and whatever they call the thing with the Void Arc and that stuff.
Weeping City.
The Weeping City and all that stuff. Those are optional, so I can see why they want to focus on no. Y'all do the Evilise stuff because you'll need it for later. Also, here, get some tombstones while you're at it.
Yeah. Right. And it's also to help the tombstones, especially to help bring back older players who can help them. It's because if we have a lot of new people, Sid is gonna kill everybody, like Ozma did, and so hopefully it won't be too bad. Hopefully we'll get enough veterans in there that know what they're doing, that they can easily teach it to the newer players.
Because the monasteries still, I feel like it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it definitely still, I feel, has some teeth on it, especially since you have to go in synced. It's so pretty, though.
Yeah, I think a lot of those raids I have only really done with the free company. And then when I went back to do Crystal Tower, it was really overwhelming to do that, going in by myself. So yeah, that, like you said, Anna, like I would hope that, there are people there to teach the raid when they go in for this.
And remember, even if they're sinking you down to level 70, if you're 80 with your level 80 gear, you're going to sink down to like the best stats you can have as a 70. So you'll be able to pretty much outgear whatever you're doing just as long as you basically know the general beats of the fights.
Yeah, or can adapt.
And as always, they throw in the one dungeon that they know everyone hates.
Oh yeah, Castro Mirandum.
Not that one. I believe some people will take that one over the level 47 dungeon.
Aurum Vale is in there. Everyone hates Aurum Vale. It's yucky, it's sticky, it's full of marbles, and no one can get past the first room the first time in their life.
Arguably, it probably goes faster than, the raid, or the raids that have the mandated cutscenes or the big 24-man raids. So it's not a horrible choice other than, being what it is.
I always look forward to these events because more people are doing PvP, and I really enjoy doing the PvP stuff, especially Hidden Gorge. Like I haven't been in there in a while because sometimes there's just not enough people doing it, so you can't get in. And that's one thing I really like about these events is that more people do PvP.
Yeah, well, they keep trying to adapt PvP and figure out different ways of doing PvP. No one just really does PvP unless you get a really good carrot on that stick, and then you get people to do it.
Honestly, I have never run PvP at all. I think I got the quest for it. I queued up one time, and the queue times were something crazy, and I just bailed at that point.
I honestly love like the frontline, Hidden Gorge Rival Wings. I really enjoy those where you have like 56 to 70 something people just going at it, and there's definitely more, I guess, strategy, but there's obvious goals, like you're trying to kill like these towers, or you're trying to overtake like these little areas and claim them for yourself. I like that a lot more than like Feast, where you just go in and kill each other a bunch of times.
Yeah, that I could see that being better, because like even playing first-person shooters, I like those style of shooters better than just go in and deathmatch.
And for 4 irregular Tombstones of Law, this is for you, Bill. I can believe I can go to Curtis Cry. There's my joke. There you go, Bill. Cutter's Cry. One of the weirder older dungeons for me, because you're constantly having to dig into sand and keep going down and down and down.
Yeah. I know when I get this in roulettes, you just keep doing sand caverns until there's no more sand caverns left, is kind of the way I've remembered it in my mind.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that in ARR they were trying all sorts of different kinds of dungeon types, and eventually they settled on we try to do things that were interesting and open, and everyone hates it. They just want interesting tubes for this stuff, so let's just give them interesting tubes. And so that's what we get, and I like my interesting tubes. But there's just something also really interesting about running around in a place, and Cutter's Cry is one of those that I really enjoy. It feels like we're going through actual places, not just, a tube.
I can see that, yeah, because a lot of the interesting tubes are just pathways to boss fights with mechanics or enemy fights with mechanics or something like that.
Yeah, my favorite dungeons that they do are the ones that make you feel like you're actually in a place. And even if it's functionally a tube where you're only going through one route, if they can put you in that same place and let you run around in it in different directions, I think that's the best kind of level design. I think the various elements of, for example, for the 3 irregular Tombstones of Law, like the Sunken Temple of Karn, both it, also honestly, and Stone Vigil, I think are places where, again, you're going through actual, an actual place and you're ducking in and around with it. They're also both interesting because they both have hard modes, and the hard modes take you through different paths through it, which I thought was also really neat. But this is also sort of some of the, so for 3 regular tombstones, you have the Sunken Temple of Karn, which is a level 35 dungeon, the level 41 dungeon of Stone Vigil, and a Dimsel Darkhold, which is almost up there with, Orm Vale
Which I don't understand why. It's not that bad of a dungeon.
I think if I remember correctly, Dimsel Darkhold has a lot of alternate ways to get through that very first section. And so it's easy to get lost in if you're not know what you're doing.
I can understand that. I guess I've just done it so many times. You just learn the path and it's not hard.
Right. But it also does the thing, just like that other dungeon does, where the first part is kind of open-ended and they have multiple routes to the same thing.
Right.
So I was actually about to mention that other dungeon, like as another example of the same idea as Darkhold has.
Oh my god, what dungeon is it? I can't think of it.
It's the one with the Ariman that flies through and you have to...
That's Dismal Darkhold.
Oh, no. Okay, yeah. I thought you meant the other dungeon with 1,000 Maws of Totorak.
1,000 Maws, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the places you can go and do things and get irregular tombstones. So then I can get all my writing maps that I need. Okay, so my question for y'all is, what do you plan to run to get your tombstones?
PvP.
I have not thought that far ahead. Probably one of the standard, like Aram Vale or Cutter's Cry or something. I don't know that I can do the forced cutscenes again.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens when I put myself in for the Alliance raid. Since I know, like, for example, when we were doing Iterate Moogles before Shadowbringers hit, we would put ourselves in for Alliance raid, get Crystal Tower, and be like, sweet, Iterate Moogles Tombstones, and it's the easiest one because that's what everyone was spamming. And sometimes we get something else, and we're like, well, why isn't this Crystal Tower, you fools? So I'm really curious to see, will it be people running like the Monastery or the Lighthouse a lot, or just Ravenastra? Like, I'm really curious to see what shows up if you hit that, because or what happens if you get Crystal Tower again, because you have to run a Crystal Tower. Like, well, that's fine, it's Crystal Tower, but darn it, I wanted the Monastery to get my irregular tombstones.
But, okay, so if you're going to do... Are you saying do Alliance Roulette? You only have to do that once, and then your other runs, you actually have to pick something. Or,
right,
you don't
yeah,
have
for that
to.
day.
Well, I mean, you could always just do Alliance Roulette and see what you get.
You just don't get the benefit after the first run, though.
Right.
So I am curious. And I know for me, like, my big thing is I want to finish getting all those writing maps. And I know, of course, Anna has to get the Neckerchief because that's all Anna has left. So Dylan, what do you want out of the item exchange?
Oh, man. Again, probably the writing maps or the Orchestrions. Because I think the Orchestrions are... I'm not really collecting them, but, like, I really only use 1 or 2 mounts. So those are not a huge draw for me.
But that's cool. Like I said, like, my real goal is the writing maps. Probably some of the Orchestrions, that's a lie. I'm just going to do all writing maps. Those are 30 a pop. Like, that's like 6 rounds of PvP apiece, and those don't exactly are short, so it's, No, I think I'm going to stick with writing maps.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
So, Anna, what kind of glamours are you planning to make with your Mama Shiba neckerchief?
I don't know yet. Like, we've got... The Namazu stuff was easy, but I don't know what to do with the Mama Shiba. I'll have to think about that.
So, yes, folks, that has been... The Moogle Treasure Trove, The Hunt for Law. Starting, well, as we're releasing this episode, today. It's happening right now. Go log on to Final Fantasy XIV and get yourself some irregular tombstones. For your
and it will be
Moogles.
going. It will be going until patch 5.3 is released. We don't have a date yet. They have said we will get a definite date the next live letter. I don't know when the next live letter is going to be, but... So you've got probably a good month and a half of this. So you don't have to rush if you don't want to. If you want to do all of the things and get all of the things, you have time.
It's true. You've got plenty of time. The next patch isn't anytime soon. Like, we're probably looking at, I'm guessing July. honestly. Maybe the end of June.
And when you think about it, the end of June is when we'll be celebrating 1 year of Shadowbringers.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. So, all right, folks, that has been issue 2 of the Carbuncle Chronicle. And so, until next time, adventurers, may you adventure in the light of the crystal. Yes, till sea swallows all. Because, we're on Leviathan, Leviathan, breathless. Anyways.
Does whatever a ocean lizard can.
That's right. It's not Leviathan, it's Leviathan. So yeah, and of course, this has been a production of the Carbuncle Chronicle, powered by the Awesome Cast. Our theme song is a remix based off DJ Nobuto's Awesome Cast theme, remixed by the wonderful Anna, who is also editing this episode. Thank you very much, Anna. And of course, you can find us at awesomecast.com, where you can catch the Awesome Cast proper. And eventually, one day, Anna will do our Touched by Duelist podcast again. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.